Welcome everyone to Good Morning Cannabis, and I have my good friend Jason Reposa from Good Fields. Now, Jason, he's got some really interesting things to talk about, especially as you see the background behind him, as you'll see that. Yep, absolutely. So, Jason, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you got into the cannabis world, and then we'll go right into the topic of cannabis and beverages, the reality of what's happening in the market.
Yeah, thank you so much, Todd, for having me. So basically, I come from the technology world, right? I'm actually like a programmer by skill and all this other stuff, but I got into cannabis because I had my own medical issue where I ended up locking my jaw and I couldn't actually open my mouth for about a month. And cannabis was literally the only thing that helped me. I had dentists and doctors looking at me at all the time, and they were trying to inject. They were like injecting needles in my jaw
Ooh,
just to try to open
that's
it. It was nasty
that's
business.
terrible.
And what would end up happening was I was like many people in my situation. I was like, well, there's got to be like a better way to figure out like how to relieve this issue. And it turns out all the doctors and dentists were treating like the symptoms and not the cause. And the root
Oh,
cause was stress,
right.
right? Because I hold stress in my neck and I was just clenching every night because I was going through the process of selling my last company. And so I decided, to try cannabis, and it actually worked really well because it's really good for stress and anxiety, right? So I came to that conclusion ultimately. Coming from the dead generation, I figured I'd never go into that kind of situation, but I was willing to try anything at that point just to open my mouth back up and be able to like chew a bagel.
Wow.
But basically, we're at the point now where, you know, starting my cannabis journey all the way back in late 2019, early 2020, just when the pandemic was actually kicking off, I eventually, after I got done kind of trying to find toilet paper like everybody else, I eventually said, what's my next thing? Because I'd sold my company at that point, and I was still like, what am I going to do with the time that I have? Because back during the pandemic, everybody was just like, a lot of people were drinking. I had a friend that was drinking like a handle of vodka a day with his wife or something
Wow.
like that. It was insane. I was, the amount of drinking that was happening, but I actually gave up alcohol around that same point. So I was like, now what do I do? And I figured cannabis helped me so much that I was like, I've got to do something in cannabis. And so I slowly, because I was combusting it, right? I was vaping it and smoking and stuff like
Sure.
that. And I didn't want to be that hypocrite to my kids by vaping, and hiding it from them and stuff like that, and be like, you can't vape, don't vape in the corner I'm vaping. So instead, I stumbled upon some water compatible technologies. People often use the word water soluble, water compatible, water soluble, whatever you want to call it, nano-emulsified particles and all of that scientific mumbo jumbo, but basically putting an oil into water and making it stable. So once I stumbled upon that technology, I developed my own internal IP. I started more researching, trying to figure out things. I was doing ice water hash. I was doing home grows. I was trying to learn everything I could about cannabis. Really steep learning curve, but we got there, right? I
Right.
eventually figured out a lot of stuff. Long story short, it comes, August of 2020, later in that year, I decided to incorporate Goodfields as a beverage company. And so that's, how it all kind of started.
Gotcha. That's great. So tell us, what's the real deal on cannabis and beverages? Where is this going, and why is it exciting?
Great question. So, anybody who's been in cannabis for a minute is always going to say like, there's unfulfilled promises of beverages because everybody's like, it's always been the hype. Everybody's just like, beverages are going to take over the world, right? Even Boris Jordan came out over the summer and said at Benzinga in Chicago and said,
Yeah.
50% of the market is going to
Yeah.
be beverages in maybe like 5-6 years. And I don't necessarily disagree. I know it's going to be a big segment because of the amount of appetite people have for our products and other beverages in the market, especially in our market in Massachusetts. Like people are really buying these things. And so it's not the majority of the revenue that's being generated at dispensaries, as we all can imagine, is flower, right? It's like
Right.
pre-rolls, it's eighths, it's stuff like that. So beverages, although a smaller line item, is growing still. And so from our perspective, it's a long-term play, right? We want to be in today because we want to be one of those long-term companies that's going to be there when federal legality happens, and all of a sudden it's going to be available in bars and restaurants, and it's going to be available, in kegs at some point, right? And so
Is,
you have to kind of you've got to pick your battles and pick your horse today versus, waiting on the sidelines until it all nets itself out, because this is where the big monumental gains are going to occur, is when you invest in some of these early startups like Good Feels.
So the future,
The future.
the future is going to feel good. Is that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our products, people they love our products. I get an email almost every other day right now about how people love our products. And we're not just beverages. We're also these drops, the beverage enhancers that are the smaller bottle on the screen. Those go basically anywhere. And so some people just don't like seltzer, right? Some people are like, I don't like the fizz, or I don't like your flavors or whatever. So we have a flavorless beverage enhancer, our drops, that you can put it to literally anything. And I put it into coffee, I'd put it into salad dressing, I'd put it into hot sauce, I'd put it into any beverage you can imagine. On my Instagram, people love my Will It Infuse series, that I go and I tell people like, will it infuse? And then I'll drop, lemon lime beverage enhancer into like a Lipton iced tea or something like that. And of course it infuses. I know always the answer is yes, of course it infuses, but it's a really great series that I run on Instagram just to show you the versatility of what the beverage enhancer or the drops can really do.
So if Jason, someone wants to get in touch with you, wants to get your products, where can they go? How can they reach out to you?
So we're in the licensed Massachusetts market. We're an operator ourselves. We own the entire manufacturing side of this ourselves. So if you're in the license, if you're in Massachusetts, obviously you can find us in the stores in Massachusetts. We're at about 70-ish stores right now. And out of, so about a third of the market approximately in Massachusetts. But beyond that, obviously tune into us on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I'm very prolific on LinkedIn, also on Instagram with my Will It Infuse series. And so Good Feels or getgoodfeels.com are typical places where you find Good Feels content. And with my name on all social is my name, Jason Reposa, Reposa.
Awesome. So Jason, thank you so much for being on Good Morning Cannabis, and we'll be looking for your stuff in Massachusetts, and we'll have you back again very shortly. So have a great day, my friend.
Thank you so much, and good morning.
Okay, take care.